You know, when talking about other Zelda games that are not Breath of the Wild 2 for 2023 on the Nintendo Switch, I can see a lot of people saying that they want games like The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, which is a game I would just love to have portable on the Nintendo Switch, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, maybe even some DS Zelda games, heck, maybe even throw the Oracle remakes in there as well, but me, no. Me, I want to see another Toon Link game. We haven't seen one in quite some time, right? I mean, could you imagine a Toon Link game on the scale of Breath of the Wild 1? That would be fantastic. Which, by the way, which Zelda games would you love to see get the Metroid Prime Remastered treatment? Hey guys, it's Rob here, and welcome back to the RoboChan Show, where we take the gaming news format that channels like Spawnwave or Arlo do, add a dash of animation and some cool editing on top to bring you your gaming news, leaks, and rumors in a fresh new way. If you're new here and want to be kept up on everything gaming, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you enjoy the video and dislike if not. And have that notification bell on so you know when I upload. In this video, we are going to talk about Nintendo insider and Metroid Prime leaker Jeff Grubb, who had some interesting words to say on the Legend of Zelda ports, what Nintendo was doing with them, and if they're even coming to the Nintendo Switch. We will also talk about how this plays into Nintendo's plans if they are coming to the Nintendo Switch and why Nintendo would sit on them for so long. The second topic is about Jeff Grubb and what he says about the Nintendo Switch 2 or Switch Pro or whatever Nintendo is going to call this and consider it as. As always guys, remember that this isn't coming from Nintendo, so it could always be fake or wrong. Always remember this when talking about these kind of things. Especially when it comes to these Zelda games, because just like the Metroid Prime Remaster, we have been talking about this for years, so take what Jeff Grubb says with a grain of salt. So the Legend of Zelda ports are something that I think a lot of us want. I mean, you clicked on this video, so I would assume you're interested in these games. Games like Twilight Princess on the Nintendo Switch and Wind Waker on the Nintendo Switch. I'm sure you'll let me know your excitement for these games coming to the console in the comment section below. But other than our shared general excitement for these games, if they are real, I think there are a lot of reasons and benefits for this to happen, especially after the Metroid Prime Remaster and how great that looks. I can't wait to get my hands on that eventually, which might be soon. I gotta make sure all my bills are covered, but if all things go well, I might be streaming that games. Now, aside from the usual things like preservation of games, having it portable without having to drop money on a separate handheld like the Steam Deck, and just ease of access and more people playing the game that haven't played it before, because these games came out a long time ago and there are people who are younger who just never played those games. There is another reason that has been added recently that makes these ports even more important to hit the Nintendo Switch. If you don't play your Wii U after a while, there is a chance that it could brick and you don't have access to that game. The only other option if your Wii U is broken is emulation. Dangers like this with hardware breaking or just not working over time because it's just an old piece of hardware are reasons why ports are a great thing. As long as they're done right, that is, and it's my hope that Nintendo looks at how Metroid Prime Remaster is selling and the excitement around the game and, you know, put those Zelda games on the Nintendo Switch. There are so many great and fantastic Zelda games stuck on older hardware like the Wii U, Wii, and DS, and so on, and it would be great to have on the Nintendo Switch, which could still be happening according to Jeff Grubb. Now, one thing you guys may remember is Jeff Grubb was one of the people who said that these games are coming to the Nintendo Switch last year, and of course they didn't. He got a lot of backlash for that, and in this quote he speaks about that as well, and also keep in mind last time he did say that moving forward he would make sure these are concrete. His source is good and his info is good, without a doubt 100% correct. So this is kind of his second chance. With that in mind, this is what he said.
I've always heard that it's been done and it's sitting there, it's ready to go. Why they wouldn't put it out? Zero idea. No idea. It doesn't make any, like last year they said they wanted to have a big Zelda release every year, and last year they didn't have one, right? Because Skyward Sword came out in 2021. So I would have just expected, again, based on circumstantial evidence at that point, that it would have made sense for last year. Now, when we had that big show where we said, here's what's happening in the Direct, and we said that was happening, that was a mistake when it came to Zelda. The Metroid stuff I always did hear for sure. There was miscommunication on the Zelda stuff, so if like going back to that, it's like, well, no, then I guess we don't necessarily know what's happening with these games anytime soon. But going back before that, like I said, I've always heard they're ready, they're sitting there, we're just waiting for Nintendo to pull the trigger. When they will, why they will, who knows?
So this is Jeff Grubb saying that these Zelda games do exist and Nintendo is sitting on them still. Now considering that we have had a ton of games like Metroid Dread to Xenoblade Chronicles 3, multiple Kirby games, and a lot of other new Nintendo Switch games, I don't think Nintendo really needed to release these games yet, assuming that this is true. Like I've said for a very long time, the Nintendo momentum that I like to bring up, Nintendo likes to have a certain amount of excitement around their brand, and they like to keep it at an all-time high, unless something happens like the pandemic, which is out of their control. And even then, they tried their best during that time, and they kept it relatively high. I would say it was kind of in the middle because they weren't able to share too much news. But when things got better, you noticed that they shared a lot more info and started releasing a ton of Nintendo Switch games, and now we just had a lot of great games in the past year and a half. When you add in the fact that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is coming out pretty soon, a big game that a lot of people are going to be picking up and spending countless hours in, waiting to drop these Zelda ports isn't out of the realm of possibility in my personal opinion. Another factor you have to consider is that Nintendo could stealth drop these as well. Nintendo knows these are in high demand. Let's be honest, we have been asking for this for a very long time, just like the Metroid Prime Remaster, and Nintendo knows that. That's why Nintendo was able to stealth drop that Metroid Prime Remaster, because they know the demand behind the game. And it's not like there's a lack of evidence for the Zelda games and the demand behind those games as well, so I think Nintendo could maybe even possibly stealth drop those games at a Nintendo Direct. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. I don't know why I keep saying those specific words, but you guys know what I mean. Now I think the next question we should ask is, when can we see these? Assuming Jeff Grubb is right about this and that Nintendo is just sitting on these games, just like the Metroid Prime Remaster, by the way. If you remember, a lot of people were saying that, no, this just doesn't exist. This is just these Nintendo insiders speaking out of their rear end, so to speak. I don't want to get demonetized. Well, I think they can release in fall, maybe sometime during a September Nintendo Direct. We know, just based on the past Nintendo Directs in the past couple years, actually pretty much since the beginning of the Nintendo Switch's lifetime, they usually have a September Nintendo Direct. Remember, that good old Nintendo momentum. Part of it is looking at Nintendo's past to predict the future, and if the September and February Nintendo Direct are anything to go off of, we're probably gonna get a September Nintendo Direct. And personally, I think that would be the perfect time. It would be a couple months after the release of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, so people would already have beaten the game, maybe going through it multiple times, or going on a second playthrough. So giving them more Zelda, and even if they announce the next Zelda after that, or tease the next Zelda, maybe they could do that as well, because we know that Nintendo does like to do one Zelda a year, aside from last year apparently. And it's not like they're gonna stop at Tears of the Kingdom. They're definitely gonna announce some kind of new Zelda, because they gotta keep the brand going. And while you're down in the comment section, or if you're still watching this video and not correcting me on my probably dumb mistake, I want to say thank you for reaching this video this far, and well, here's a cookie. For those who don't know, YouTube considers cookies potentially inappropriate for some reason, so let's spam those cookies in the comment section. I want to see pages among pages, just go wild with cookies in the comment section. Let's troll YouTube. Now, there is a subsection of Zelda fans who say that we don't need these ports. Now, I know that sounds a little crazy, but there were a lot of people in the comment section when I started covering this that said, yeah, I don't need these ports, I could just emulate it or something like that. And if you want to hear a reply to that, click the top right corner of this video, and if not, let's move on to the Nintendo Switch 2 stuff. Now, Jeff Grubb had some interesting words on this, and this is what he said.
It's still on the table that we get something Switch, not Pro, but maybe even not necessarily Switch 2. Maybe something like in between that is definitely like an actual upgrade in terms of hardware, but in terms of the way that Nintendo positions it, it feels like they could try to do like to straddle the line a little bit and do like a super Switch that continues the generation in a way that is more significant than they've done since the Game Boy Color, but even more significant than that. And the thinking there clearly is they have Nintendo Switch Online, they have a lot of subscribers, they have a lot of people who are spending a lot of money buying video games, and they don't want to disrupt or lose any of that momentum because all the other companies have figured out how to maintain it. And they don't want to be the one company like restarting from zero. We all know that they've said as much publicly in earnings reports that they don't want to restart that. The whole idea is to now build on that going forward.
So for people who have been watching this channel, you know this is something that I was guessing that Nintendo would do when it comes to the next Nintendo console / next Nintendo Switch, whatever they're gonna do. If you guys noticed, Nintendo has been treating the Nintendo Switch a lot like the 3DS, with new iterations, the timing of releases, and just new Switches versus new 3DSs, DSs, and DS Lites and all that kind of stuff. Which makes sense, right? The Nintendo Switch is part handheld, so why wouldn't you look to the past, to one of your more successful handhelds, and take notes from that? This makes me think that we're gonna get a new Nintendo Switch, so to speak, and when Jeff Grubb talks about how they're gonna market this Switch, that's what I mean when I say new Nintendo Switch. It's still gonna be within the family of Nintendo Switches. Now, for those who are wondering about backwards compatibility with the current Nintendo Switch, I know a lot of people were worried about that, and that's a big conversation right now. This is what Nintendo said in that investor meeting that I covered. You said earlier that you recognize that the issue in the dedicated video game machine business is that past software cannot be played due to the generational change in hardware and content is initialized. But now, thanks to the use of Nintendo accounts and backwards compatibility of new hardware, even in the dedicated video game console business, content can be passed on semi-permanently like images, isn't it? I think there are both advantages and disadvantages to making newly released hardware backwards compatible with previous hardware. What kind of discussions are you having internally? And this is where one of the big wigs at Nintendo responded to this question from the investors. This is what they said. In the past, we provided a mechanism called Virtual Console that allows you to play older games on new hardware. Compared to that, video games can be enjoyed for a long time as long as there's a playback environment. However, the rights to video games are complicated, so you said that Nintendo is proceeding after securing the rights. Certainly in the past, software development for dedicated game consoles was done in a dedicated development environment that differed from each piece of hardware. Therefore, when the hardware changed, we could not take over the development environment, and the software released on past hardware could not be played as it was. The software development environment itself is becoming more and more standardized, so in general, the playback environment that allows you to play software for older hardware on newer hardware is becoming easier to implement. This is where it gets me a little worried that Nintendo might be Nintendoing it up and try to make it more complicated than it needs to be, but let's continue. However, Nintendo's strength is in creating new ways to play, so when we release a new hardware in the future, I would like to propose unique ways of playing that can be achieved with existing hardware. So personally, why wouldn't you, right? You're so close to the #1 selling Nintendo console of all time and any console of all time, so why wouldn't you do that? Just on the basis of being able to say that we made the best selling console of all time, that is a incredible achievement that anybody ahead of a company would want to do. So why wouldn't you try to find a way to make a new Nintendo Switch and continue to support the other ones? Especially after your last console, when you tried to do the same family but a whole new console, completely tanked. Overall, it's just a win-win and a safer bet. Now, one more quick thing I want to say about those Zelda games that I completely forgot to mention. I would like to see a bigger upgrade, just like Metroid Prime Remastered, for at least Twilight Princess. I think Wind Waker holds up really well, so I don't think you really have to upgrade that much. Now, if they wanted to improve it even more than it already looks, then I don't mind that as well, but I think one of the bigger reasons why Metroid Prime Remastered sold so well and is doing so well is because the upgrade. I don't know why I emphasize upgrade like that, but anyways, I think a big reason why people bought it is because of the upgrade, and if they did something similar to the Zelda Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection, I don't think it would have done as well. But switching back to the other topic, Jeff Grubb is now saying this as well, so we know that he does have some more understanding of what's going on with Nintendo, and he does have inside knowledge of Nintendo, which gives it more, I don't want to say truth, but it's more likely that Nintendo will do a new Nintendo Switch, I guess. It's pointing in that direction more and more. But as always, guys, remember that this is not coming from Nintendo, so it could be fake, and we don't want to be too disappointed if it does end up being fake. But with that being said, would you buy the Zelda games if they were shadow dropped at a Nintendo Direct? And do you think they even exist, or do you think this is just another fake thing that's just not gonna happen? And if you guys have any other Zelda games you want to see on the Nintendo Switch, drop those in the comment section below as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good one. And if not on your way out, make sure you subscribe for more videos and also have that notification bell on. And if you want to support the channel in any other way, there is my Patreon and Twitter account in the pinned comment if you're interested in those. Oh, and also have this donut if you're still sticking around for me rambling. Thanks for watching, guys, and remember, stay safe, stay charged, and have a good one.